Salvete. Welcome to this audio video lesson on Lingua Latina per se illustrata. Capitulum Quartum, 4th chapter, chapter 4, Grammatica Latina. So we're going to look at some factors of Latin grammar today, the vocative case, the imperative versus the indicative mood for verbs. So the vocative case, as I tell my students, is used for calling out. Vocat means he, she, it calls in Latin, so the name of the vocative case comes from the verb for calling. And imperativus comes from the Latin verb imperat, which is he, she orders, so the verb for ordering. Imperativus, imperative mood, as we call it in English, is a verb mood. It's a grammatical term for a type of verb form which shows a command. In English, we do that by just saying, call Joe, or, dance a jig, something like that. So you're giving a command to somebody. We just give the basic verb form by taking the to off the English infinitive. So to call, we drop the to off and we get call. To be, we drop the to off and we get be. That's how we do imperatives. So let's look through the vocatives and imperatives in Latin. Vocativus, medus davum vocat. Medus calls davus. Dawe. Alright, now notice the guy's name is davus, but when medus calls him, he doesn't say davus, he says dawe. So this is a way of spelling the word. When you change from the US ending to the or short E ending, it's called the vocative case ending. This is technically a masculine singular vocative ending. And it's for a second declension noun. Dawe, vocativus es. Dawe is the vocative. Vocativus nominativus us. So this is telling us in an us second declension word, like medus, davus, servus, hortus, so on, you have a vocative ending in short e. Exempla, examples. Mede, domine, serve, improbe. Medus, Lord, master, slave, and then wicked one. All right, so those are all examples of if you're calling out to somebody. If you call somebody improbe, you're calling them, hey, you bad guy. So it's directly talking to that person when you put this ending on. All right, servus, salve, domine. So the slave says, hello, master. Since he's talking directly to his master, he doesn't say dominus, he says domine. Julius medum vocat. Mede. Julius calls to medus, and he says mede. So again, he doesn't say medus. That would be the nominative, the form for the subject. He says mede. Veni improbe servi. Come, you wicked or bad slave. So notice he doesn't say improbus servus. That would be bad slave as the subject of the sentence. He says improbe serve because he's talking to him. Imperativus et indicativus. Imperative and indicative. These are moods of the verbs. Mood in Latin is modus. The Latin word modus means way, manner, method, something like that. And mood, as a technical term for grammar, really is more about a manner or method of expressing a verb. It's not so much like the word mood, like a happy mood, sad mood, although it's not unrelated to that. So, Dominus says, voca davum, call davus. Servus davum vocat. The slave calls davus. Now, if you remember back in the story, he tells Medus, one of the slaves, to call davus, and that is what he says, voca davum. Voca is the imperative verb form. Notice it ends with a vowel, a long A in this case, and then he uses the accusative case for the person he wants him to call, voca davum. Now, if he said medus call davum, he would have said mede with the short E ending, and then he would have said voca davum. Going on, Dominus, the master says, take et audi, be quiet and listen. Again, notice that the imperative forms take and audi both end in a vowel, a long E for take and a long I for audi. Now, these give us examples of the some of our major verb conjugations. Voca ends with an A, that's a first conjugation verb type. Take ends with a long E, that's a second conjugation verb. Audi ends with a long I, that's a fourth conjugation verb. We'll learn more about these different conjugations later. But basically, as you learn verbs, you should pay attention to how they're spelled, in particular those vowels that are involved. Servus tacet et audet. The slave is quiet and listens. Dominus, the master says, discede serve, go away or leave, slave. Discede, singular imperative form, leave. Notice it again, ends with a vowel. Serve, the vocative form, slave. Servus discadet, the slave goes away. Dominus imperat, the master orders. Servus paret, the slave obeys. Voca imperativus est, voca is an imperative. Vocat indicativus est, vocat is an indicative. Now an indicative verb is not a command verb, it just indicates, it basically tells you what somebody is doing, right? So take is an imperative telling you to be quiet. Audi, discede, those are imperatives telling you to do those things. Listen, go away. Take, audi, discede, est imperativus, those are all imperative. Tacet, audit, discadet, indicativus est. All of those are indicative, right? Imperativus, a, e. Now they have those in order. A is the ending for what we call first conjugation verbs, verbs that have a thematic vowel of a long A. The A, long E, is what we have for second conjugation verbs that have a thematic vowel of a long E. The or short E, is for third conjugation verbs. They don't really have a vowel of their own. The vowel might be an E or an I or a U, just depends on the context. But for a command form, an imperative like this, in the singular, they will end in a short E. So discede is an example, go away. Cure would be run. Pone would be put or place. Those are some other examples of verbs of that type. E, the long I, that is for fourth conjugation. Indicativus at, that's the first conjugation. Et, second conjugation. It and it, third and fourth. Exempla, examples. Saluta, salutat. Greet, and then he, she greets. Responde, respondet. Answer as a command, and then respondet, he answers, she answers, it answers. And then sume, sumet. Sume is pick up. Sumit, he, she, it picks up. Veni, come as a command. When it, the indicative, he, she, it comes. All right, Metus says, saluta dominum. Davus dominum salutat. Metus says, greet the master, and Davus greets the master. So notice, saluta is the command, greet, and salutat is the indicative verb, not imperative, right? Saluta is the command or the imperative. Salutat is the sort of normal statement indicative verb. And it means greets. Davus greets, salutat, dominum, the master. Julius says, responde, serve. Responde means answer as a command, and serve as our vocative form we saw up above, slave. So he's talking to the slave. That's why it says serve and not servus. Servus respondet. The slave responds, answers. So there we do say servus because it's the subject of the sentence. That's the nominative case, back from chapter 1 and 2. Julius imperat. Julius orders. Sume saculum tuum. Pick up your sack. Et discede. And leave. Notice both sume and discede end in the short E. They're both what we'll call later the third conjugation type verb. And these are singular imperative or singular command forms. Again, just as a reminder, note that all these imperative forms, all these singular command forms, end in vowels. Davus saculum suum sumit. Davus picks up his sack, his pouch. Saculum is the accusative of saculus. Just as a side note, sacus is sack, and saculus, with the ul added in there into the middle of it, makes it a diminutive form, which means a little sack, or in this case, maybe a purse or pouch. All right. Et discadet, and he leaves. Julius says, me de veni. Medus, come. So notice he doesn't say medus because that would be a nominative. He says mede because he's talking to him. And then he says winnie, the command imperative form, come. Medus non winit. Medus does not come. If you remember in the story, this is because Medus has already run off with his master's money. So he doesn't come when his master calls him. Julius imperat. Julius orders. Davus paret. Davus obeys. Medus non paret. Medus does not obey. Well, that concludes this grammar section. I hope that made sense. I hope you learned a few things. Take care of yourselves. Curate vos et valete.